Okay, so we're good here. You guys can hear me. Can you guys hear them? Can can everyone hear them?
Test.
Everyone hear them? Test. Okay. Nice. Okay, perfect. I can't hear you. I'm using my phone with my second account now. Perfect. Cool. All right, everyone. All right, so we got MAGA, the opposition thing going. MAGA, anti-vax. MAGA. Let me just put something. MAGA. Audio is glitching. Okay.
Whoa.
Everyone's audio, or just
Might be mine.
my audio?
Might just be mine.
I was having trouble the other day. So you're making me nervous here.
No, it's me. I have too many tabs open, I think.
And we're blinking on your screen. Like I'm looking at your TikTok thing and
oh yeah, because I'm alt tabbing trying to like get this stuff out. There you go. Okay, there we go.
You need one of those seizure warnings now with your
yeah. Okay. Video's fine. Nice. Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's try to get things started. Try to get these. Well, I guess we can just get into it, and then hopefully, like a MAGA or something, will request up. I guess I'll put opposition here. I was gonna put like some descriptors. Oh, thanks, Rebel. Well, thankfully, guys, we don't have anything to talk about. Everything has been no news, and
absolutely,
and everything's it's been really nothing to talk about, you know.
Yeah. So this has been it's been 2 weeks, but as everyone has said, and I'm sure everyone who's watching here feels that, it feels like it's been already 4 years of the Trump administration, right? It feels like we should be going into like a new administration now, because if you're the type who actually follows like politics, this is just, oh my God. I mean, it's the best of time to be within the news, and it's the worst of time to be like a citizen of this goddamn country, because it's awful. It's nonstop. There's always something else, right? And something I wanted to talk with you all about is that the presidential address.
Oh, yeah. Where everything's great.
Yeah, what happened? So if you guys didn't see it, right? Well, first of all, you live a blessed life. But if you did see it, Donald Trump had an address, I believe, on Wednesday night, to the nation, right? And this is a big thing. These don't happen often, and I mean like the type where they cut into the local news, or the primetime shows or whatever, right? And they're replacing it. Okay, we have a special announcement from the president, right? There's the emergency ones, right? Of those will happen just at any point in time. They can cut in. But this wasn't an emergency one. This is planned. And people were like, all right, well, what's it going to say? The big thing, and what didn't happen, I'm grateful that didn't happen, is that President Donald Trump did not declare war on Venezuela. That's what we were all expecting. That's what everyone was expecting. He's going to do that, all right? That doesn't mean that we are now at peace. That's a different thing, right? No, we're still actually doing the bombings, right? we just haven't declared war. So, but still, all right. But what we got was like for a stranger. He just like rambled for like 20 minutes, doing his like usual shtick, right? Like it was all his greatest hits he was going through, right? About like how great he's doing, but how bad Biden was doing. He inherited all from a Biden, this economy from Biden, right? And it's still not his economy now. Don't worry, unless something good is happening, then it was all his idea. He talked about how the tariffs are working, right? That part of the economy is good, and then also he's going to give a dividend, like was it 1,776
A warrior dividend. A warrior
war
dividend.
It was wild,
dividend
dude.
to the soldiers, which I mean I'm not against, right? To our military, I mean go ahead, right? But specifically 1,776 to celebrate the birth of the country. Okay, whatever. And but he's just like rambling hard, and it's like and I'm curious what you all have to think about say about this, but it feels like he like he's been like absorbing the news about him, right? Like the he's been seeing the polls, and I know he like keeps track of these fucking things, right? He's seeing the polls, and had like just nose diving in that, right? And it was like slowly eating his way out of at him, and it burst open. He had a teleprompter, but like it seems like he was barely following what was happening there, right? And he was just it's like, I'm doing a good job. I know what you're talking about. Prices are down. Now, I know you can see prices are different, right? I'll tell you gasoline is at an all-time record low, but I mean, you'll go to the pump tomorrow and you'll find out otherwise. I know you're that you're seeing crazy prices within the food market, but like you can get a cheap turkey somewhere. So all good. This was the speech. This was the speech. What was this? Thoughts?
I saw it more or less as like a mini toned down rally. Obviously, I was just like, yeah, all the same talking points, but obviously a bit more updated in terms of like the cost of living, or rather, there's no issues with cost of living, and like yeah, just completely unhinged. Just like well, more or less like in my opinion, like gaslighting the American public essentially. Like nothing to see here, folks. Everything is great, so don't question me.
Yeah, I hate how it's another example of how unserious they are, right? They just don't take this stuff seriously. They don't take the presidential address seriously. That used to be, like Prime was saying, it's like something that was a big deal, that you have like a prime time presidential address, like, oh dang, something big is about to happen. And then it's just nothing. It's just he used it to grandstand, and obviously the files part of the files or whatever words they wanted to unredact and release today came out, which was wild. And I think that they were trying to just they're just trying to create a PR wave, and before that.
Yeah, the Epstein files came out and it was stupidly redacted.
But I thought there were no Epstein files. This was a Democrat hoax.
That's a
also there were none.
And you're stupid if you believe that there's any sort of Epstein files.
No.
But this all seems to work with his his base. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they love it.
Yeah. So the polls were falling, but as always, he has this stubborn floor, right? He has this 30% that no matter what, we'll say he's doing a good job, right? Like his polls numbers never go past that. Maybe on some individual issues, but like overall, like his approval rate just never like falls below that floor. So like, is he actually going to be punished? Like people were saying that like, well, okay, well, because of these, one, because of the tariffs, and two, because of the Medicare, not Medicare spikes, the ACA spikes, right? Yeah. How your premiums are going to go up if you're on the ACA, right? On those medical insurance programs, right? That would be punishing for him, right? Specifically Donald Trump. And there's a lot of people, and the ACA is Obamacare, right? There's a lot of people on Obamacare in red states. And they are going to feel the worst. But like, if that's the case, like, then I don't think he's going to feel it at all then, because those people, right, people who are going to be most affected, most hurt by this, who voted for him, will defend him to the end, are still saying, like, right now, like, this is the best president I've ever seen. Like, I'm not sure if you guys have been watching these interviews, right? Like, even in this moment, like, this is the best presidency I've ever seen. Like, he's actually doing a great job. But there are a few things I like for him to address, right? Like, the economy is just, like, not really great right now, you know, and food prices are really high and inflation. But still, this is the best president that I've ever experienced. So I don't know, man. The cult is real, and so, like, yeah, I'll just leave it there because I have more to say. But, like, I'll just be rambling.
No, I think this is the place to ramble. Like, yeah, it is mildly frustrating. And even like, I'm a Canadian, I find it frustrating as well, just in terms of like, yeah, how locked in and like no matter what. And obviously, I see some of these interviews, but I also know some of them. When some of these people go out and interview the general public or try to interview some of his base, how much of it is like staged, or are they selectively picking people that they know they're going to give sort of the more unhinged takes. But like, yeah, but assuming some of them are representative of the base, it's like pretty much like no matter what, pretty much as you say, it's like, yeah, the economy is not so great, and a whole bunch of other issues, like the Epstein files or the lack thereof. But the deportations and ICE, that's pretty much, it seems like for some people that's all they care about, of just the deportations and all that stuff, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's like a weird focus on anything but what they ran on. Like, I mean, there are people that are being like swayed. I feel like a lot of the Gen Z male voters are kind of having to come to grips with like, this isn't going to be exactly what they wanted, that the stuff isn't happening. I do think that like the rise of Fuentes and stuff kind of shows that, they're probably not happy because things aren't going more extreme, right? They kind of are seeing, stuff stalled a lot more than they want to, and like they want to try to it's basically accelerationism, right? They're trying to burn it down even more because even Trump can't get it done fast enough for them. So it's very, very, very telling. I feel like that Fuentes is being like it kind of accepted into Republican mainstream now, and like his ideas are kind of they're not denouncing it at all, right? Of course they don't want to, and they want to kind of like use his popular and honestly polarized and energized base. I mean, Grapers are extremely well organized and energized to get involved. They get involved at incredible levels, and it's very unfortunate because they have a huge disproportionate impact. And it's dangerous. But I mean, they are the worst of the worst.
There does seem to be at least, well, so let's say based off of what I casually come across on Twitter and some other headlines, there does seem to be a little bit or an uptick in infighting on the right of like, well, given the rise of Fuentes, obviously people like understandably Ben Shapiro, not really happy about that. And, there's whole issues like Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, and there seems to be a lot of like, yeah, at least from what I observe, a lot of infighting. And I'm curious to see how that plays out, or, what base wins out, the slightly more reasonable Ben Shapiro, or like the unhinged Candace Owen followers and Megyn Kelly. I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think that is actually interesting. The conservative civil war, we'll say. I don't know, but there are deep divisions showing right now, right? And it's interesting that so much of those divisions, as we also seen on the left, has been about Israel, right? Like that has like fractured the American spectrum, like political spectrum, in a way that I've never seen before. I wish we had someone older here to talk to who might have a bit more like historical perspective on this. Like I've never seen, because like you'll see like moments like these where something pops up and it like it causes a party to have to readjust and have a conversation within itself as to its path forward. Usually not like both parties like this, but like all up and down the political spectrum. It's fractured in many different ways, not just like one way, and like a lot, like it's like fractured glass, and it's like spread across the entire political spectrum, and and it's unclear to me, especially on the right, less so on the left, but unclear to me as to who's going to take power, right? Like who like leads the path forward. Like the lines aren't clear, especially on the right, I think, because like young Republicans are turning against Israel. Like they're decidedly turning against Israel, not for the same, maybe exact same reasons that I am specifically, right? But young Republicans have been questioning the orthodoxy, right? And like the elders of the party have been trying to get them in line, but it's not working. Now, like Israel isn't the only thing, obviously, at play here, but like it seems to be like defining the fault lines. And the big players, right? They all have their distinct positions on this, right? And of course, other things to argue about, but this seems to be like the thing that they fight about. Ben Shapiro was at CPAC, was throwing insults at Tucker Carlson over this, right? And then Tucker Carlson came in later on, was defending himself over this. And then you have, like you guys brought up, what's his face? Fuentes, right? Yeah, Fuentes, indeed, yeah. He has his own position, right? And the reason why Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson were fighting is because Tucker Carlson talked to Fuentes, right? And then there's Candace Owen doing her own thing, but all of them are talking about Israel. So this is fascinating to watch. Fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And I know, well, at least again, based off of what I observe on Twitter, so there's one Twitter user that I follow, and they're fairly popular on Twitter. I think they have, whatever, 20, 30,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know if you know, like Dr. Avi, but well, they voted for Trump. And like, I don't know for sure, but like, I would say generally speaking, overall, they're fairly left leaning, so to speak. They're vegan, and they have other sort of like progressive views, but they seem to be sort of a single issue voter from what I can tell, in terms of like, they pretty much only voted for Trump because of their position on Israel, or they view them as more favorable towards Israel. But then now he's understandably, very upset of the rise of Fuentes and the embracing of Fuentes on the right, where it's like, well, he might be having a little bit of a voter's regret, or you didn't quite see this coming. Although maybe to some people it might have been obvious, or I would say should not be surprising that there's a rise of Fuentes on the right. But I'm also interested to see how that plays out for that particular Twitter user.
Yeah, I mean, he was always there, right? Fuentes was always there. They had the Graper Wars of 2017 and that kind of stuff, and they were always there, but it was stymied. I think that Prime's right. It's kind of like a particularly after October 7th and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, it is weird. You have basically the Candace Owens, and that we watched both of these, like Candace Owens kind of like Civil War videos this week, and it was really weird to, Candace Owens, Tim Pool, Erica, what's her name? Yeah, Erica Kirk, all just kind of like fighting amongst themselves, trying to establish, and I think that it's kind of like the death rattle of this ideology, where they kind of see that Trump's old. Trump is old. He's even if he is installed as a king, he is going to be old. There's going to be something going forward that is going to include them or not. And if they feel like they're on the outside and they know that it's very wishy-washy, I feel like you can get kind of like pushed out. And look at MTG. MTG like was pro-Trump the entire time, like, and as soon as you have that ire, it's like the eye of Sauron. It just like that laser beam towards you. Like once it's on you, there is really, what are you gonna do? And she sat there and stoked the left for how many years, 6 years, but it only took a month of anti-Trump stuff that made her resign and want to, it's just wild.
Oh yeah, it's a weird place to be in. That like someone like MTG feels more sane now in this context, or like they've pretty much gone through sort of a PR like whatever reimagining, so to speak, of like up until like 1 or 2 months ago, I viewed more. Well, I still largely view MTG as largely unhinged and not an overly serious person. But like as of now, like there's more people embracing her, and she's clearly trying to separate herself from the MAGA movement. And she's sort of like whether it's an actual genuine attempt to reform herself, or she just appears more sane in the context of all the other insanity. I don't actually know. But like, you know, I think that is a sign of something of like where someone like MTG appears sane in this environment, or appears like the reasonable one. And even just as a somewhat more recent example, again, and somewhat not really strictly related to politics, but more on the entertainment side, but bled into politics of like the passing of Rob Reiner was a famous director. And like, I don't know if you saw like Trump's tweet about that.
We all saw it, of course.
Yeah. And just like the backlash and even MTG was like, okay, like this is like unhinged on Trump's part to respond in this manner to someone's passing. Also, you know, the hypocrisy in terms of, you know, Charlie Kirk and all that stuff. But yeah, very strange times as always.
Yeah, they never meant it. Like they're always BSing us when the Charlie Kirk thing happened, talking about the right and their decorum with their enemies, right? And we would never do.
We would never celebrate anybody's death.
Literally, we had, I believe it was, I forget which one, the Weinstein brothers, either Brett or Eric Weinstein.
They're both the same kind of.
They're stupid. Both, yeah, literally. A Weinstein, doesn't matter, interchangeable. Anyway, they put out a tweet specifically saying, "Hey, like after Rob Reiner's death, like take note left, right? Like we would never attack a person in the same way you guys attacked Charlie Kirk, right? A few hours later, Trump strikes." It's like
exactly. Just let me pull that microphone away from you, and yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing, right? And like lemmings, there are some like right wingers who were like at first trying to be like conciliatory, but as soon as Trump speaks, right, they're like,
that gives them permission to become unhinged.
I'm an NPC, so like I'm gonna of course I'm gonna follow him. I'm gonna let all my worst impulses out. Of course, exactly. Like right now. Yeah, you guys never meant it. This BS. Now I actually have a slightly different take on this than everyone else. So I'm gonna be consistent on this. And Corey was around when we had a conversation like this in the Reverie, like this is when Charlie Kirk died, right? Immediately afterwards. We didn't know you, at least I didn't know you at that time, Dr. Greg. But during that, I've said, and I'll continue to say, that the dead are not immune to criticism. Like I don't necessarily care if a person has recently passed. If they've done awful things, I'm gonna call it out. I'm just gonna do that. You can say, well, actually, I won't even qualify it. I think that like when an individual dies, like we can take stock of their life. That's a perfectly fine thing to do. But it's just like the other side pretended that they had some sort of that it was some sort of special insult just to say like the thing, just to repeat what Charlie Kirk had said, right? Just doing that. Remember, people are getting fired for that on like at the time, right? Yeah, you were losing your job, right? Just for like saying a Charlie Kirk quote, right? Because it made it look awful because it's a goddamn racist, right? And so yes, I'll stand by that. Like Trump has the ability. I think he has a right to say how he feels about that. At the same time, though, I'll say that he is the president. And I don't think it's smart politically. And this was disastrous for him, right? Like the pushback, even from members of the right, even from people in his own party. Because, and this is the last thing I'll say, because I'm going on for a bit here. Like, it's weird. It's weird what actually breaks through to some people, right? Because not like Trump's like general brutality. Like Trump has actually immiserated people like far worse than like what's happened to Rob Reiner here. Like the amount of misery he's unleashed in this year, right, has been massive. That doesn't actually do anything to right wingers, right, to Republican voters, right? That part they like. It was just this lack of decorum in this very moment, right? And it seems very personal because it's an individual that they know, even if they don't like the guy, right? It's a individual that they know, and he died so gruesomely. It's really a shame, right? But like that felt more personal, as always. It is. The thing is with right wingers is that like there has to be someone in their personal circle or someone they can like that looks like them for them to be able to relate to the subject. And so once that happened, Rob Reiner, and then you see Trump attacking him the way Trump has attacked many other people, right? Especially brown people, especially women. He's done all of that, right? Now it's a problem, right? and if you were Trump, it would actually Trump could be rightly confused by a situation. It's like I do this all the time, every day, all the time. I say the worst things about people. I've been doing it for years, and now you're mad at me. I would, from his perspective, it's right to be confused. What the hell?
Yeah. Go ahead, Greg.
I mean, I think that he is like I think it's because he's jealous of how beloved like Rob Reiner was in the Hollywood, and because like Trump was really failed like in the Hollywood world, and he wished he could be bigger, but he wasn't. He was despised, and people didn't like working with him, and he had to kind of create this reality television false persona and all that kind of stuff, which eventually got him elected president. But I think that he was jealous. I think that that's what it all came out from, like out of nowhere, and you're like, what did this happen from? It's just jealousy,
Probably like, well, this definitely wouldn't surprise me. And like Trump could have just like not said anything. Although like if it is it actually him?
No, he couldn't.
No, well, no, I'm saying like on paper, because it's like he's even though his roots are, let's say, in show business and I guess maybe real estate or whatever, or the failed casino business, but I think it's fair to say he's a politician now. Maybe not a good one, but like he's still in and so he could have just like not said anything. But like because like that was even though it's a noteworthy Hollywood person, unfortunately, passing away or under very tragic circumstances, like you could have just like not said anything at all, and it would have been just like totally fine. But no, but just given the fact that yes, I believe Rob Reiner was somewhat vocal about his disliking of Trump.
Vocal. He was very vocal.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah. But I don't think I haven't done a deep dive, but I don't think Rob Reiner has said anything really out of pocket. Like I think he had us like as a typical Hollywood person, very left leaning and progressive. But I think overall, and I don't think Rob Reiner ever said anything totally like over the line,
like Trump, because he's not Trump.
Yeah, exactly. But just by virtue of the fact that someone didn't like Trump, then yes, Trump obviously could not control himself. Of like, well, yes, now is my time. Now that they've been allegedly or presumably murdered, now's my time to say something and say something horrific about this person, because they just pretty much obviously a spite-driven message, essentially, in my mind, dancing on someone's grave when they haven't even been put in the ground yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's oppositions, yeah, for sure. It's people being exactly. It's open season if you criticize Trump and he's jealous of you, and now he has the moral up on you because he's alive and you're not. It's just like it's just using a weird time in order to. He would never have said that in real life about him. I can understand Prime's point, and I think it's fair, like that people's legacy lives on, so you can criticize it, and you can talk about like, once it's happened, and unfortunately, it's just really sad, that three kids, the oldest one kind of like goes and has a problem with addiction, and they've kind of had to battle it their entire life. And I mean, just imagine like your oldest brother taking out both of your parents. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like that's the biggest tragedy for me, where I'm just like, he could have just like gone off in the sunset and just did his own thing and never was a part of the family. But he like stole his parents from his siblings too. Like, I mean, it's just
think
it's
his
just
daughter found the
yeah, it's just a crazy tragedy. I feel like really sad, man. I guess it's just because I
mental
just
issues, so no, he can't just like walk away, you know.
yeah. But well, he could have at least walked away from the family and just dealt with the family, dealt with it himself. He didn't have to take it out.
But I'm saying, like, I mean, if that would be the rational thing to do, that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
Not
okay,
rational. Yeah.
gotcha. True. Yeah, I mean, apparently Rob Reiner was like trying to. I mean, ever since 2015 when they did a movie together, he was trying to bring him into the fold, trying to help with them, and I don't know. It's just really sad. I felt like it's just
Yeah, definitely sad and horrific. And whether we'll ever truly get any answers, but I'd be curious to know if this person was in the throes of addiction when they did it. Of did they, let's say, come to their senses at a point and realize that they did this to their parents, or like this was like an actual, truly intentional act? Whether that question will be answered, I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm hoping at some point that can be answered, because it's like.
Thanks, Book TV, for the raid on Twitch. Much appreciated.
Nice,
Hope
man.
you're doing well. And Corey, are you streaming?
Yeah, I am.
All right, I will do a stream thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thing. Yeah. So, fellas, like, and to the people who just came in, on my end, yeah, we've been moving from subject to subject here. First, we were talking about Trump's very, very, very strange address to the nation, which is where, and another thing about this address, and so someone else pointed out, is that like within like a month or two, like I believe in early February is the State of the Union, right? Like that's when you would normally just like do this, right? And like everyone's going to come to watch, and you'll have Congress in front of you, right? Like, and that's your chance to do this. Like that'll be much more watched even than that address, right? So like that would have been the opportunity. But like I was saying before, I think really he's just been holding it all in. Well, barely, right? Watching, like, I say that in quotes, holding it all in. I mean, as best as Trump can never do anything like that, right? Sit still. But anyway, he's been watching the polls, watching disapproval, right? And even on like the right, like people even with the conservative circles, there's like breakaway, right? Because people can smell weakness, and they're all about like strength and weakness on the conservatives, right? And so like if Trump just doesn't have the juice, then yeah, people are going to be challenging him. So he's watching all of this happen, and this is like an effort to take control. He goes out there and just like makes wild, like completely wild and like a falsifiable claims, but again, to be fair, he does that all the time, right? And that's it's usually not a problem. He makes false, like patently false claims. It's usually not an issue. But he goes out there and he's like literally like yelling into the camera, right? And doing his ramble thing. And Corey was right. This was like a watered down version of his regular speech, right? Of his like campaign style speeches. This was go ahead. Sorry, I heard something nice.
I think Greg is.
Sorry, I was trying to fix something. Sorry, go.
No, sorry. I was just about done. Anyway, right. But the point is that it was a watered down version of his speech, and it was just it's so like. Okay, I know it's cliche to say it, but like it's always effective to do so. Imagine if Biden or Obama did a speech like this. Just imagine, right? How right the conservative media reacted to the rambling, right, and the unhinged nonsense. But it's just baked in with Trump, and then like the president did a ringing speech, right? It really like addressed the issues the nation is facing. Whatever.
And it just as further to, I don't know how strange it was, even though it was more or less just a watered down rally. It seemed like the way it ended, because he sort of like towards the end, he was like trying to tie it in, or like this seemed to be like sort of a happy holidays type of thing. Like, and there's like the address, because he ended up like hope everyone has a great holidays. I think he said like Merry Christmas. But then like it was like trying to do like a tone shift. Like he was screaming, everything is great. Here's your warrior dividend, and hope everyone like has a great, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. And it's like so bizarre, or like I don't know, that's not very cheery or upbeat, because yeah, very perverse.
Yeah, I guess. Do you guys want to talk about the files that were released today, or the lack thereof? I'm just like curious. Like we talked about it in passing, but I'm so curious. Like, what you guys feel like?
I briefly perused some stuff, but I didn't take I pretty much more or less, at least from what I can tell, virtually everything that's been, there's nothing overly interesting, just like, because everything's virtually been redacted. I could be wrong about that. I'm happy to discuss them, but I don't know very much about them other than like the main message appears to be that nothing's really in there.
Yeah, I did a cursory search of Trump and Bill Clinton, and it was wild. Like Trump has 2 random photos of like a closet or something. It's like the most, like nothing in there. There's no pictures or mentions of Trump anywhere in the photos at all. And then sure enough, like I searched Bill Clinton, and it's just like 10 pages, hundreds of mentions, hundreds of and you're just like, oh my gosh, man, the way that they kind of just absolutely or like throwing everything out except for Trump. Trump obviously is saved by this whole thing, and then now it's just wild. It's such a joke, man.
But I still think, obviously, again, if what I came across is true, and it's hard to tell these days, but there did appear to be some explicit mentions of Trump in there, because I think there was one.
Oh, really? That's good.
Excerpt.
Maybe it's in cursive or something.
Well, no, it's because according to what I saw on Twitter, of like they may not have like done their due diligence in redacting, because it's like, because you can say Donald Trump, or you can search for Donald J. Trump. Where if you do Control F of Donald Trump, you obviously find Donald Trump. But if you write out Donald J. Trump, that might get overlooked in a Control F. Well, that will get overlooked if you just Control F Donald Trump.
Interesting.
And so I believe of the sort of like blurbs or sort of the small excerpts that I saw, it was like Donald J. Trump was mentioned. And if they were just Control F-ing Donald Trump, that would have gotten overlooked.
Why not just write Trump? If you're doing a Control F search, just write Trump.
Wow. Yeah, I tried both of them. Yeah, they actually released a search thing that you can like put
searchable database of
yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen that. If you got a link to that, please share. I'll take a look.
Yeah,
Corey, I sent the link to the stream together.
Did you?
Here's
1 second.
It's justice.gov/Epstein, and you can just kind of like see, and yeah, it's pretty wild, man.
Justice.gov.Epstein
/Epstein.
Okay, so the Justice Department actually did that. Okay, that's surprising.
Well, they're more easy to to curate the results. What's the counter behind me? So our vaccines is the amount of vaccines that our community has gotten. So we have gotten, as people get vaccinated, and then we celebrate them getting vaccinated, because we love when people take public health seriously. And then political actions is when we phone call and we email in support of public health and science measures and bills throughout the country. So we've done 1,100 emails and phone calls, and we actually have a cool update this week, guys. This is actually a cool thing. Segue while we're looking at the files or whatever. The bills that we were talking about, we got so about a week and a half ago, we got emailed by a physician in Pennsylvania that he was supporting a bill that was going to expand, will enshrine vaccine access in Pennsylvania. He had 2 bills specifically, one to make it so that the insurance companies in Pennsylvania listen to more than just the CDC and the FDA in regards to insurance, making it okay for insurance to cover something, and then 2, making it so that technicians and non-physicians can still give flu shots, because that's another way that they're trying to restrict access, is trying to say that only they're trying to say only physicians can do it because you have to have a prescription to get a vaccine now. So those are the two ways that they're doing it. And this physician was basically enshrining this in the law that yes, you can get a recommendation outside of the CDC from the APA or AMA or something like that. And then also technicians can give vaccines because it's just an intramuscular shot. It's really easy. Anyway, so we were calling, one of them had not made it to the Senate yet, the state Senate, and we were calling in the last week in order to try to get it past the House, and we did it, and we helped do that. So it actually passed the House 107 to 96 in the Pennsylvania State House. So both of the bills are into the Pennsylvania State Senate. So it's very cool. So we are putting our ire and our focus into the Pennsylvania State Senate, and so it's going to be awesome. Like I think that it's going to be hopefully enshrining these laws. This could be the start of Illinois has done it, Pennsylvania is doing it now. This could be a way that Democratic states actually push back and actually enshrine some of this and create legislation to help vaccine access going forward in the future.
Nice, that's awesome. Good for you and your community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been really cool. No face. I think it's I don't think it's taking scientists out of it. It's creating. So right now what's happened is that basically once the CDC removed their recommendation of a vaccine, insurance companies can no longer cover that. So what's happened is that it takes the insurance premium. Like the insurance isn't going to pay for vaccines in some parts of the country anymore. So there's other organizations that are like the American Medical Association and the American AAPs, the physicians group and stuff. They make recommendations as well. So what you're trying to do is just trying to say, hey, these are the other people are legit. We can take these, and if an insurance company uses that as a recommendation, then that's legit too. Which vaccines? I think that there was a bunch of them for COVID, for example. I know COVID that was a big one.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at these files, and
nice, good.
There's not much to say. So much of them are just like straight up like heavily redacted. Like I mean, I'd seen like little bits of this online, and it's just I don't know, man. Also like it's just tough to for the parts like so I found something that's not like heavily redacted, at least as far as I can tell here. But like it's hard to like place these things in context. Like I'll need like a team of people to do that for me. Because like what has been released already, I don't know, right? Like you have to really dedicate yourself to have a deep understanding of that. And then like what is actually important, right? Because I'm sure a lot of this is just nothing burger. It's a glimpse of this man's life, but not everything he was doing was of like interest to the public. But a lot of what he was doing had an interest in the public. I do want to make that clear. This guy was incredibly powerful, in ways I don't think most people have actually put together. Like how much access this man had. That really hasn't been reckoned with in terms of public coverage. But still, in the end, like to like parse these files is quite difficult. If you aren't like deep into all this. So like I think I'll just have to wait till a trusted source does this for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. Well, aside from like what I view on Twitter and other people that are, I guess, digging through the files. Even then, I take everything that I see on Twitter with a massive grain of salt because I don't know what's real on Twitter anymore.
Yeah.
Did you have thoughts you wanted to share?
I think it's like, I think it's funny that, why redact these things if they were so nonchalant that they forgot they even existed? Or, they've lied about these so many different times, that they did exist. Now they didn't exist. Now they're so important that they need to be redacted. Now there's so many ongoing cases that there needs to be redacted, but there also isn't anything in there that's worth mentioning. And everyone that's in jail for anything for this is all being pardoned. So, like, oh, hey, what's up, username? You can request up, dude. So, oh, you don't have enough followers. So it's just every which way. Hey, Mrs. Dr. G, what's up? So it's just embarrassing, man. I think like embarrassing for Trump supporters, I feel like, because it's just like it's just that, fell for it again award. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, bro, like how many times do we have to go through this? It is just wild.
Well, if anything, they should be even more embarrassed, because I think just like in the past couple of days, like Trump, I think, has explicitly said, like, essentially, as usual, the talking point changes of like, well, the Epstein files is just a Democrat hoax. And I think he explicitly said, like, if anybody believes in them, even if you're a Republican, like, you're kind of an idiot. And so it's like, well, Trump is pretty much calling some of it, a large portion of his base, idiots. But again, I don't think that will actually affect anything. But yeah, in my opinion, like there's clearly something there. But like, I think we're never going to find out, because it's like they have no interest clearly in actually being, even though they say this is the most transparent presidency of all time, obviously that's a lie.
Dude, I think that this is like honestly, I think this is the Democrats' like email server thing. I think you just bring it up in every conversation constantly. And it's just, there's nothing, I would bring it back constantly, because it's a good example how Trump is out only for himself, and how he doesn't care about anyone else other than his own bottom line and saving his own face, and that he's not out there because he is their avatar fighting for them in their minds, right? And it's just so transparently obvious that like this is an instance where he could do the right thing and he chose not to every single time in order to just protect his can. So I think the Democrats want to bring just want to bring this up constantly.
They probably should. I think it's clearly a winning strategy. Or I guess we'll find out in the midterms. But
yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Well, I think the public, is hungry for transparency. I think even Trump supporters are coming to terms with the fact that Trump was deeply involved with Epstein, even though all the conservative media is trying to pretend that wasn't the case. So there's that. But like, Democrats are implicated. Epstein was close to, and this is what I'm saying. Like, again, people haven't really reckoned with like what kind of person Epstein was. Epstein was the ultimate power player. Epstein was in Democrat and Republican White Houses. He was with all those. I mean,
affiliated with the Clintons, Bill Gates.
Yeah, clearly, Clinton. Yeah, but he wasn't palling around with Obama the way he was with Clinton. But he was in the Obama White House. He was just so well connected to so many people, international players, not just presidents like American presidents, but international presidents. He was helping, if I remember correctly, he was helping Ehud Barak, a former Israel prime minister. He helped him set up a meeting with Vladimir Putin. Right, like the former PM of Israel, he could make the meeting, right? He called Epstein, and Epstein made that meeting happen.
That's wild.
Epstein is in the middle of all of these things. Epstein is apparently involved with it. He was involved in Iran-Contra. We're just learning. A drop site news put out an article. Iran-Contra, he was deeply involved in that.
Dude,
He's involved
that's crazy.
in everything. Like, people don't understand how powerful this man was. And that, like, he had his hands in so many things, and like, yes, he could just like set up a meeting. Like, oh, do you want to go to White? He was for Ehud Barak. He was like very close to this guy again, the former prime minister of Israel, right? He wanted to have a tour of the White House, Right, he was going to take his grandkids there, right? And to
Mhm.
impress them. Look at me, right? I get a tour, right? Who's it called? He calls Epstein. Epstein makes it happen. He makes a call, and all of a sudden you get a tour of the White House. You can all those classified places you go because of Epstein.
Wow, dude.
Epstein was so powerful. You don't understand how powerful this guy was, right? And like so since he had so many connections, so many power players, it makes sense that like a lot of Democrats actually don't want to bring this up. Like you're saying, like we should just bring this up all the time. Well, those Democrats don't want to because all of them are implicated. The DNC is implicated. Everyone's implicated.
Yeah,
And, well, I was just gonna ask if you know, because like I haven't done a deep dive on Epstein's background, but like was it just purely just the fact that he was wealthy that he was like able to get rise to the ultimate?
No, it's because he's an intelligence officer for Mossad. He
Well,
was
that-
he was
Okay.
deeply he was working for Mossad. It was obvious he was working for Mossad. This is not like a conspiracy theory or anything. No, he was working for Mossad. He was all of the. I mean, like I was just talking about him and an Israeli prime minister, right? He had an Israeli spy that was staying at his house, right? It was staying there multiple times. They just come and stay at his house, I believe, in New York, and just like chill there, right? Doing spy stuff, right? Like an Israeli, like he and for Iran Contra, right? Yeah, that Israel has always been very interested in what's going on for Iran there, right? Like and everything that he does, Israel pops up. And of course, Ghislaine Maxwell, I still don't understand what the relationship was. Honestly, I don't know. I don't get that. But whatever they were doing together, right? She's the daughter of one of the most decorated Israeli spies, intelligence officers there is, Robert Maxwell, right? Like, we know that he went to Israel plenty of times and met with all the power players there, right? He was their man in Washington. Epstein was that guy. Yes, he was deeply into the intelligence world. And so yes, like the money, but how he got the money is in itself like a mystery because he doesn't.
Yeah,
he wasn't actually doing he wasn't a financier, right?
Yeah, he was gonna get fired from Bear Stearns, and then all of a sudden he starts managing like billionaire accounts. It's like he
was managing the accounts of this guy named this billionaire named Wexler. I forgot his first name. But this guy Wexler, he was managing his accounts, but not just his accounts. Wexler had Epstein, if I'm remembering this correctly, power of attorney over him. He didn't need why Epstein? Power of attorney, right? No, you just don't do that for just anyone. He handed it to Epstein, right? Wexler, another big Israel booster, and advocate for Zionism. Yeah, for some reason he hands over his power to this random. He doesn't have a finance background. But he's all of a sudden in control of all his accounts, in control of his health decisions. How did that happen?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, it is very weird, man. I mean, how much do you think it is though? Like, don't you think that billionaires are just like kind of connected though to a lot of different things too? Like, I mean, as a billionaire, there must be like have a lot of money, a lot of different. With power comes money. With money comes power, right? So they just have a ton of hands in a lot of different stuff, and I think that's like where like the MIT connection comes from. People are really shady about like the money that he was donating to MIT and thinks that like that whole institution now should be raised to the ground. And
I don't know about this MIT thing. Could you explain that to me?
Yeah, well, I mean, he basically donated money to MIT.
Epstein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was trying to fund actual research. Researchers.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a bunch of like researchers and stuff that are implicated and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's hard. The reach of a billionaire is we can't really comprehend. I feel like they're just gonna have their hands on a lot of different things unless they're directly connected to it and they're like,
I would agree, but the things that I'm talking about, this was like Epstein's doing, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, putting money into a certain thing and saying good luck with that, right? No, he was directly involved. But I take your point that like billionaires like have their hands in so much because their money allows them to reach into so many things, right? And so like I hadn't heard about this MIT thing, but like just going off what you just said, right? Like I wouldn't think necessarily anything untoward about those MIT researchers, right? Unless like one, if they were researching something for Israel, I mean that would show me it's probably like the defense technology, you know. That might be something that they were doing, but again, I don't know. But that would be a red flag for me. But other than that, he might Epstein, you know, knows a lot of people and maybe, you know, cares about someone and they have some sort of horrible disease, and let me find some people at MIT to help with that. I don't know, man. So that wouldn't immediately say anything to me.
It loosely reminds me. This is not like a one-to-one analogy, but at least what springs to mind. And like, I'll take you at your word that he had strong links with the intelligence agency, and that was a critical element in his rise. But then I think the fact that whatever he was either he cultivated his own wealth, or he was somehow coincidentally wealthy. I think that also played a factor as well. But it's sort of like what comes to mind is Elizabeth Holmes and how, you know, she had a rise to power in terms of like, you know, it seems like as long as you know, get the rubber stamp of approval of like one or two few powerful people, then, you know, that just allows you to just like rise up the ranks. Like, you know, Elizabeth Holmes got towards the White House and met presidents when she was literally running like a fake company. But since she had some credibility in terms of she did get you know, wealthy investors, and she got, you know, a few powerful people on board. But then once you establish some limited credibility with some powerful people, then it's like, well, more people will just like flock to you, especially obviously wealthy and powerful politicians.
I see how you're making this connection. My pushback is that like Epstein was actually competent. For what he was trying to do, right? Being an intelligence asset, right? Gathering compromise on everyone who was in his orbit, and also like running like various other intelligence, like either running intelligence operations or like putting people in contact with other people, like being like a networker, right? You want to be the guy in between, right? That people go to for favors, right? To meet other powerful people. If you can be that guy, the middleman, there's so much money and so much opportunities there for you. He seemed, from what I can tell, very good at that. And so like, yeah, but I would agree that like the way he got started, like goes to what you were saying, Corey, right? Like that he was like the math teacher, the high school math teacher or whatever, right? And he left that, and then he ends up within a stock trading company, Bear Stearns, I think, right? And then he was just like a nobody there, but all of a sudden he's managing major accounts, right? Yes, he had gotten himself in the right room with the right people. And they put, you know, they put the word out that this is our guy. And so that opened the doors for him. But from there, like the competence took place. And he actually like, because it wasn't just a few years he's been doing this. Like I said, Iran Contra. He's been decades, right? Like wild, he's been at this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I take your point that not that this is a testament to his character, but yeah, probably a little bit more competent in the ability to actually rise up the ranks. But if anything, that might be a testament to Elizabeth Holmes as well. Of like, you know, like given the fact that everything about her was a fraud, and yet she was still able to rise so high. It didn't last very long, but she was.
But that's the difference. Yeah, that not being able to last long because like it was a house of cards, right? Like easily like blown down, right? Like
that's also a number of years. I think many people would trade in you know, many years of their life just for like the 5 years that she had at that rise.
No, it's fair. No, and I hear you, but like I'm just saying that like it wasn't going to last. She was so desperate to get some sort of product out that was money making one, because the one she had was completely infeasible. And so like yes, she could fool people, but like at some point she needed to put out a product she couldn't, and so then she decided to fake that product, and then that relied on everyone working under her to never actually open their mouths, which is not going to happen. So yeah.
But I mean, so then what do you think is all the redactions then? I mean, are the redactions, obviously Trump is in there for sure, but is Trump like holding some of that like as blackmail himself? because he's going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, the only person that is actually being held for any charge and related to this mess. But then like
there's no point blackmailing Ghislaine though, right?
No, but all the different pages, all those pages can't all be Trump though, right? I mean, unless
you mean blackmail for other powerful people.
Yeah, exactly. Is he like playing those cards himself now? He has like in his possession all this like this stuff that he doesn't want to get out. I mean, why else would he not release that? It just
because
seems
he's
like an
implicated.
absurd. He is definitely, but why not throw everyone else in under the bus? He's doing that with Elon. Yeah, Elon's in there. Elon was doing meet and greets at the island. So like Bill Clinton obviously is being thrown under the bus. So like, why not do that with all these other politicians if you're Trump? Like, that's what I don't understand. That so much is redacted here, like so much.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I was just looking at a document, and damn near 97% of it was redacted.
Yeah, and it can't be all Trump. I mean, but obviously the Trump stuff is redacted, obviously, right? But so it's like, what is he? I don't understand it.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah, I don't either. It is so weird.
It's that Trump 5D 60 chess, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I feel like he's I don't know. It can't be all him. It can't be all him, and it can't be. I think that.
Well, it could be. I wouldn't totally eject that idea from your mind.
I mean, they were best friends, man. He and they hung out for a really long time, for like decades, and so I would be shocked if it was like that much, but obviously
it could be that like they also don't know what damaging things can be like turned back on them, right? Like, Larry Summers is in the files, right? Disgusting ass Larry Summers, and screw that guy. But anyway, let's say that like his name appears more often, but like a lot of that's redacted. Well, maybe like if you follow the Larry Summers thread, then that leads to whatever it is Trump is hiding within the files, right? Like, they're not sure like in what securitist route. You know the word I'm looking for, right? They're not sure in what way that like a reporter could follow that would lead to something else that they don't.
Like what thread they can pull that will lead back to Trump.
Yeah. That's the best answer I have for you, really. That like, hey, let's be extremely liberal with our redactions, right? Like if there's any question about it, simply redact, right? And rather than give someone something that might be at all useful.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like what I was saying. Like, why if there's a bunch of MIT researchers or something and they're not actually implicated, and it's like for the Epstein Foundation or something like that he had that was like legitimately for some type of education or something like that, then like would you want to redact that or not? I guess like the idea being that if you redact it, you kind of like that they're safe and there's no reason to cover that up and they weren't implicated, and just putting their name in there is going to possibly implicate them in the future, and you want them to have good federal contracts going forward, that kind of thing, versus like having their name in there. But then you could also say, hey, it's like transparency and we were in there and we didn't do anything. But yeah, I don't know. It's very weird. I guess I could think about it in both ways. It's very damning to be anywhere in there, and you definitely don't want to be. I would not want to be anywhere in there, even in the guise of transparency, right?
Certainly. My name to be searchable there. Certainly not.
Yeah.
Even if it's something completely innocuous, because again, like you said, Dr. Gray, and I think the point is really well made. That like, I mean, if you've got money and you're powerful and you're well connected, then people will flock to you innocently enough and just be in your orbit because you've got money and you're powerful, you're well connected. People tend to be attracted to those things. And they may not know about many of the other stuff, right? But I don't know.
They do have to.
Go ahead.
They do have a in regards to redactions, they have to make an explanation. If it's the same ones, if the ones that are, and this is why I think, because they're released today in regards to that thing that was passed, they have to make a disclosure of why they redacted those specific things. So yeah,
I mean, it says so in the corners of the pages, like why they redacted a thing.
I'm sure they
but
could just give some vague, ambiguous reason, or like whatever.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they did.
It's an active investigation or something. Hey Heather, how's it going?
Hi. So I've been listening to Virginia Dufresne's book called Nobody's Girl.
Mhm.
And she was like the famous like Epstein victim who is in the picture with the prince.
Mhm.
And anyway, but when they raided like all his properties, there were just thousands and thousands of photos of young girls, like naked young girls everywhere in all his homes, framed. So anyone going to his parties, whether it's New York or his island or Florida, every single, like they all saw it. It was in murals all on his walls. Like, so at this point, I feel like even if you're just, oh, well, we were invited for a dinner party, you're still like, you know, an accomplice. Like you didn't speak up. Like they all knew, and they all need to burn.
That's
Like,
it's
Do
funny.
we know if they were under 18? Like the
yes.
all pictures? Okay. All right.
Yes, a lot of them. Yes, I mean, a lot of the women in the photos that have been. So a lot of people don't remember, but he was already indicted and literally got away with like 18 months in jail. But I'm using air quotes because and was this like 2017? I don't know. He was investigated.
It was like 2006 in Florida. And that
that
was one of the attorney generals that did that case, and
that Trump
appointed. So it's like a weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was the one who like basically made it to where they actually fooled and tricked the victim, saying that basically they were trying. I think it was kind of like they were trying to suss out the victims, to find them and to see who would talk, and then they would get threats by Ghislaine and everybody else. But anyways, yeah, he went to jail, but he was allowed to be out of it and go to his work, which was a nonprofit or something thing that it was set up for like science. He was really big into all the AI people.
Yeah.
And he could work 12 hours every day. He could be gone. And they even found that he was abusing girls at the office. And when he was released from jail, served his time, he quickly closed that foundation or whatever that thing was. And but yeah, like he was still abusing. And so he was proud and like bragged that he basically got away with it. And so I think that's why all these people, even right now, they're not that worried, you know, because they were still like all these Clinton and all these people were still going to his parties, even though he was found guilty of this crime.
Because because he wasn't charged for it. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're like, oh, got away with it. And so whatever. And, you know, you could argue that Prince Andrew still gets away with it, you know? I mean, sort of. I mean, I guess like Prince, who is the prince? King Charles, whatever.
Yeah.
Or somebody officially. But like even Queen Elizabeth didn't like come down on that. You know what I mean? She barely removed. I don't even think she removed titles or whatever, but now I think he's been stripped of his.
Yeah, the king did. Yeah, King Charles did.
Royal stuff.
Yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, like I would. This book is. She's a really good writer. Like she was, right?
She didn't write it by herself.
No, but I think she's I think she is pretty talented though. Like she was obviously like an avid reader and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, like I would, the first few chapters are really, really awful and hard, but then you start mixing in, but very brave, and all these girls who, on these victims who are disappointed when they see what was, quote, released today and how it doesn't match up what their experience. And I assume that they can't just go and list all their stories because, there are going to probably be trials, I assume, or that's their hope for. I'm not sure. Like,
they can list their stories, but some people are trying to protect their mental health as well from what they've been through already, and they're speaking out about it. And the very little support they've gotten from our government, from Congress, with a handful of people that are standing by this, but all the history that you're all talking about, you're not even going back far enough. And to address one of the gentlemen, I don't remember which person said it because I wasn't looking at my phone, but the question was asked, were they under 18? Really, that question literally makes me livid. Why would it matter if they were 17 and a half, 14, or 20? Those photographs, 11. Excuse me, please, you spoke. Those photographs of all those women that were around his properties, they were in bondage in many of those photographs. They were showing them in torturous situations. The age should be irrelevant. The abuse of women is the issue here. The underage part of that is the crime. There's a lot more. Vanity Fair tried to release an article, a full article on Epstein the first time he was charged, and it was squashed by our government. And you can go research this, and you can see Vanity Fair tried to out Epstein 3 decades ago. This information that's being released now is a joke. It doesn't even scratch the surface. I live on the East Coast. I worked in New York City. Personally know people that worked, my dad was in banking, who worked within the finance industry, knew everything that was going on. My dad retired early and basically without saying it in those days, because things like that were taboo to even speak about with your family because you would put people in danger, because he knew things he never wanted to speak about. And he's deceased now. I wish he was here to see that there's some vindication of what people were reporting. The Clintons and the Trumps were best of friends. Their daughters grew up together, Chelsea and Ivanka, written about all over society pages and on page 6. These people know everything. The depths of this goes way deeper than what's even being talked about now. It goes back at least 40 years. Epstein was also banned from being on the property. What's the technical school in New York City that's in the Village? I can't remember the name. Cooper Union. Because he was there and he was scoping out girls there, and they reported it and they told him to get lost. Okay. He's been a predator his entire career. Whatever political attachment he had gave him permission to keep doing the things he'd always been doing, because he was providing some part of our government things that they wanted, and basically they turned a blind eye to things he did in his personal life. And that afforded him the ability to have access to all these very important and wealthy people whose names we'll never know, people behind the scenes that have been funding our government forever, who are in control still to this day. That's who they're protecting. Donald Trump isn't protecting himself. He's protecting other people. And I'm not even saying it in a way that's a non-selfish protecting. He's just aware that the things that he did, he will never be brought to account for. He's already risen above so many accusations, and there isn't going to be any repercussions for him. He'll die before that'll ever happen, just because he's of old age. But the people that were functioning in New York City at that time, the people in the social circles, in society pages that were being written about, Chelsea was interviewed when Donald Trump won, Chelsea being the Clinton's daughter, about her friendship with Ivanka, and said, we will never not be friends. We have grown up together. We'll be friends forever. Well, that didn't last for long. That didn't age well. The Clintons is another whole subject matter. I'm not going to even, delve into that area, but they've known about it. They've been part of it. Even when Hillary got in public and said, the Republicans are trying to frame my husband. He never did this, when they're talking about Monica Lewinsky. She was already covering up for him when he was governor of Arkansas. So please, save that issue about anybody being innocent in any of this and there being a lack of information. There isn't a lack. This is only what is being allowed to be known now. But if you do a deep dive and go back 30 years, there was even more that was being spoken about that flew under the radar and was squelched because the damage would have been more severe than what you think you see now. So all those girls and young women, and by the way, boys as well, they're all victims. I don't care what their age is.
So I'll respond to that. One, I agree with the vast majority of what you said. I think is on point. I think that look, a lot of people knew. I think they absolutely knew. I'll just leave it at that because it's hard to parse these connections. But there was a lot of talk happening, right? But I will push back. Sure, I will push back a little bit on the photos. Like, I think the ages are important. Like, if I was at a dinner party, right, and I saw photos, and again, I haven't seen these photos. So I don't know like what the context is, right? But you're saying that they're within some sort of
how could you have not seen the photos? We've all seen the photos. There are.
I haven't seen the
no, not everyone. I haven't seen the photos either.
Yeah,
well, they've been released for weeks now. This isn't new, and they're in bondage. I don't care what age you are.
I guarantee you, there's billions of people that haven't seen the photos.
Girls that are being exploited, who are being tied up, and then you frame a picture of their ankles, their wrists, a gag in their mouth. Go and look.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult to find the photo.
Sure. Okay. That all right. And I will look them up. But
at
the same time, hold on. Excuse me. Let me just respond very quickly. So I'll take a look, right? Because I want to be more informed. But adults can consent to kink, right? Like there are photos of something like this that like people. There are plenty of photos like this where people consent, right? And like assuming this person wasn't Epstein, right? that we're referring to. But if I had seen photos like this at someone else's house, right? And they explained to me, oh yeah, this is just like something I found in some sort of like kinky art gallery. I'm like, oh, okay, right? Assuming these people are above 18. So that was my only reason for bringing that up. But, I take your point. Maybe these people were, below 18, or that these people might have been done without their consent. And he was just like, advertising his crimes in front of people, which seems like a thing that he did quite often. But people can consent.
Yeah. And if you're talking about adults that are consenting and you're talking about art in the form of art, that would be a different story. But he didn't own an art gallery. This was his private residence and the island.
Buy them later on.
He brought people to entertain them. And then you walk in and you see these kinds of things. It should give you cause for concern about his activities, even if there's just one underage girl in those pictures.
Well, yeah, but then again, the age matters, right? Like if there is an underage girl, certainly, right?
There were multiples.
No, and I believe it. That's why. But that's what I'm saying. That's why the age does matter, though, for these things. Because for an outside observer who doesn't who just shows up at Epstein's place, right? Like they wouldn't know otherwise, right? If you tell a person a story, oh, these are just some kinky photos I like to have. I mean, of adults. Well, then it is what it is, right? That's the thing you're allowed to do.
Yeah, and there's no problem with that. There was a photographer who did a whole exhibition series that caused an uprising in the 90s, but he was a photographer showing his art in an art form.
So something to keep in mind really quick, Prime, is that most of these women, that the victims that are women now, they were preyed upon and it got younger and younger and younger as the years went by, but anywhere from 11 to 17.
Yeah.
And also Epstein was quoted, and didn't Trump even say, oh yeah, Epstein knows to like him young.
Yes.
Like, they do like to have him young. And even so, even if you said, okay, well, that was an adult woman in the picture, here's the problem, is all of these girls, these women, even if they were 18, they were specifically picked because they looked like they were 15. And the second these girls did not, like, say, like they were picked up at 15 and now they're aging out like 2021, guess what? They were aged out because they didn't look like a 15-year-old anymore.
Right, exactly.
And then he would elevate them into, like, some became actresses or whatever. But when Epstein was in town, they had to go, and he would still traffic them to his buddies.
And they use them to traffic other people, to lure other girls.
Point out something? So another thing that people you might not know is so the Epstein the temple, the white and blue stripe thing, is the same white and blue stripe. It looks the same as Ellen DeGeneres set. So you got that, and then the dome on it is the dome from the mount on the mount, the temple on the mount. And then you have the temple. So it's got the same dome, and then you have the connections, of course, the white and blue that Mother Teresa would wear. And then Mother Teresa is Anthony Fauci's and then check it out. This gets heavy. So Mother Teresa is actually a man, and Mother Teresa is Anthony Fauci's dad. No shit. I even looked that up, and I was like, this, and then there's pictures with Mother Teresa and Robert Maxwell.
Hey, Boost, can I ask you something? Your name is Ethan, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would just like to say, as a victim of SA, now is not the time to start bringing in stupid conspiracy theories, because it dismisses the stories and the problem at hand. Okay, it's distracting from the crime, and it's not respectful, and it's a waste of everyone's time and energy, and it's not fair.
I mean, 98%. Conspiracy facts is 98% of what I deal with. And those are well-known things. I know it's hard for you to.
Now is not the time, dude.
So I mean,
as a Catholic in the Catholic religion, who at one point elevated. At one point elevated Mother Teresa, we have since then found out, and Heather, to your point, that some of those conspiracy theories you're speaking of, I'm not talking about the Anthony Fauci part of it. That's the first time I've heard that. She was not exactly the nicest person. And she was not exactly someone who was a person of God and faith. So if you go back and read about her history, excuse me, please let me finish my sentence. You go back and read about her history and about the things that she did in some of the centers she ran and the cruelty toward the poor, you'll understand what I'm referring to. So there is a different link to unkind, bad behavior toward poor and grooming the young for other reasons. This is a cyclical problem, and it always comes back to the same groups of people, not literally the same exact people, but the same groups that are related in other ways, not just monetarily, not just through their money, as someone was pointing out in the panel earlier that said, power and money, they always seem to find each other. Yes, they do. And they are living in a world that we don't understand. that we're not part of, that we don't even think like these people do. But beside that issue, they also come together on other levels, which I think, Heather, is what Boost is alluding to, even though some of it is getting way off track here to what you're talking about, meaning the files.
Well, I mean, and just, one more little step, there, if you, I don't know which way you want to go with, but now this is a little bit harder link to find, but Anthony Fauci's wife is Ghislaine Maxwell's sister. And I've I've seen pictures of them, but that's not, I'm not going to say 100%, but a possibility.
Yeah, but if you're talking about these kind of theories, why haven't you, if this is your thing, that you do controversy and you do conspiratorial, where is your research to prove what you just said? How do you make a statement like that when there's so much out there that you could go and try to verify what you're saying to be truer than just throwing that out there?
Those are, with there's a good group of people that's pretty accepted stuff. Like, I'm not going crazy stuff. I'm not saying JFK is still alive. No, these are like, I can tell, like, there's pictures, there's stuff that if you go and ask AI, it will try to steer you, but you can find routes that lead to it. Same with Anthony Fauci and with Mother Teresa, like the trafficking, the major trafficker, like most prolific trafficker in history. But and you look at like the pictures and it looks like a guy. And then I looked up there and I pulled it out of AI and they're like, yeah, there's several like people that were other nuns that commented, and they kept the autopsy private. Like, there's a lot of there's
a lot of supposition there. But for a person who is promoting conspiracy theory and you're relying on AI to tell you the truth, I have a problem with just that. Like, seriously, come on. AI is feeding back to you whatever is being input to AI. So if that's your source, that's suspect right there.
I'm going off of people that are much more but I do want to touch on Fauci and his involvement in the 80s, with the AIDS epidemic and AZT.
All right, we're just not going to talk about that right now. Okay, so sorry, bro. Okay, so we were having a good conversation before you came in. So anyway, I'm sorry. Heather, do you want to respond to something?
Well, now I'm really mad.
Sorry.
I'm so mad. Oh my God. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, now is not the time. That dude is crazy. And but here's the point is like, just like 75, like she said, is these women were preyed upon. They knew, okay, a lot of these women had already been abused. They were homeless. They were starving, all kinds of stuff, horrible things. And that's how it made them like susceptible to this and getting picked up. And then the amount of gaslighting, it's easy for us to say, oh, that would never happen. But when you're not used to a situation and suddenly this stuff, it kind of feels like your brain's like, no, you need to run. But then there's an adult, because Ghislaine was the one who was always in the room with these girls, training them. And she also assaulted all of them, or a whole bunch of them too. Yep. And so it like strips away each little layer of defense. And also they don't have a history. I mean, first of all, they're children, but they also were never protected for the most part in their own lives. That, like Virginia, her own father was doing this to her, and then also lent her out to his best friend who did that to her. Yeah. And then they're so trapped and trying to survive, then they were groomed to try to find other girls for them. And and these girls are not proud of it. You know what I mean? But like, that's horrifying to them. And
they don't have any boundaries because, like you said, from their home life beginnings, they were being targeted. Back in those days in New York City, there used to be this front that was being used that I see it now as a front, but in those days we were all very concerned about it, about all the runaway girls that were being picked up in Port Authority, right? And being groomed like just like you're talking about at an early age, because their home life was so bad that they escaped that and then became victimized the second time by New York City, quote unquote, right? By crime in New York City. And these are the very types of stories that you're referring to. When you groom someone who's already so damaged that you could just find them on the street and they're willing to go with you, that's a red flag right there, that something in their life is already so wrong, so bad, that they're looking to any other adult to save them. And it's not a conscious decision either. It's ingrained in your behavior at some point, that even, I believe I heard a quote by someone on this app that is reading segments out of the book, that she said every time she looked to an adult, they disappointed her, but she kept going back, thinking the next time it would be better, even when she tried to escape after he aged her out, Epstein, and then she would crave his attention. Because it's a cycle. It's grooming that begins at such an early age when they don't even have any participation in it in their own homes. When somebody in your own family or your neighbor or your relative or school teacher or the postman or whoever it is that started it with that person already broke down their barriers and were filling some kind of a need that was missing even at that time. And the immaturity of the mind, they can't understand that's what's happening. And then you grow up and then you grow into this system. They were groomed when they were underage, but they were still there as later on as adults. And when people make comments like, oh, they could just go out and leave now, they're on their own, they could get a job, they were paid, they were grown-ups now. You can't undo 5 or 10 years of that kind of environment and that mentality, that mindset in the victim's mind, and just decide, now I'm free and I can go out there. She did get many jobs and she tried. She wrote it in her book and she failed every time. She had to go back.
Here's the thing is like, these, again, they're children. They lack all of that adult support of anyone who ever protected them. Then they are immediately groomed, and it happens pretty quickly because they're also very desperate, right? But they're also, and something that has not come up, it's not just about grooming, they're also blackmailed. They were threatened. Again, there are children being threatened. If you say anything about this, I'm going to do this and this to your brother or whatever. And that's what they did to Virginia. They showed a picture of her little brother and said, we're watching him, and if you do anything, he will no longer exist. And so there's a lot of fear. It was a whole bunch of blackmail. It wasn't just, oh, you're leaving. It was real fear. And also it wasn't that Virginia couldn't just like, so when you are SA'd as a kid, it kind of stunts you emotionally. And you don't always get to grow up, and they always treated her like a kid. So even though, first of all, she didn't just age out like he gave her an out. She escaped. She played it well. She was very smart, and she endured horrible things, like you said, like about Jeffrey was buying books and getting trained in like how do you say masochism or whatever? I cannot say sadomasochism. Yes. And he was doing that to Virginia. He was having the guests do it to where, I mean, she was damaged.
Well, they were breaking all her resistance down.
Yeah,
Every
they were doing
she tried to build herself up to the courage to do what she knew she was capable of doing. There was no one there to prop her up and support her and say, I'm here for you if you want to try to get out of this. All they did was keep breaking her down over and over and over again, as they did with the others whose names we don't necessarily know. And like you said, with the blackmail, keeping them constantly in a state of fear, and that retribution was going to be not just to them, but to other people that they loved, even though some of those same people might have also abused them, right? Like their own family members. Mm-hmm. So it's people that have not experienced any of this kind of betrayal don't have, and someone in the comments that went by before said this is exactly what domestic violence victims go through. This is the same kind of mental abuse, the cycle, the grooming, the gaslighting, and then tearing down of the person's ability to use their own instincts, because she had good instincts. Your own instincts to say, I can get out of this. I have to get out of this. I need to get out of this. But then there's nobody there. Everybody needs help. Even people brought up in the most loving homes had the help of their parents to get over those things that happen in childhood that make you doubt yourself. That's just a normal life. Imagine adding onto it all of this, and then you having to decide that you can figure out the right way to get yourself out of this, and nobody gives a shit about you. Nobody. Well, they're waiting for you to come back. He literally waited for her calls. And she said the same thing. She admittedly said that when there were periods that were too long that she hadn't heard from Jeffrey, that she literally started to miss him. That's what grooming does to them. That they will love the person that's abusing them.
And it wasn't so much about like missing. It was, I think, with therapy, she did realize it was more about, he was the only person that gave her kind of like a purpose or validation for what she was doing. Right. Even though it was terrible, she knew she was doing a good job because of this or that or whatever, right? But the one thing that like how she escaped was very clever, and it's very, the way she leveraged it, and this is after years of dealing with him, is Ghislaine and Jeffrey wanted to marry her off to a rich person or whatever, so that they could have pure babies, and basically use her as a birthing. Like it's gross. Oh, it's gross. And it really made me think about like how the AI bros have like Sam and all of them, like they have like this thing, like it's like a religion kind of, well, they were all kind of like with him, with Jeffrey, and the whole like the weird AI tech stuff. Like he was a huge investor and having like meetings with these guys and stuff too. So she said, let me think about it, because how all this started was her dad introduced her to Trump, and that's how she got a job working at the spa. And that is where Ghislaine found her. And the whole time where she thought it was a spa and the massage rooms were just massages, that was her thing. Like, oh, I could do that for my life. Like Mr. Trump is like paying me good and I can get out of this life, and that's where it went through, or that was her kind of like through line. So when Ghislaine and Jeffrey were like, when they found her, it was all in the guise of like, oh, it's a massage, right? And then obviously it became quickly not a massage, right? And then so finally, when they came, you said
you said you were listening to the book, right? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but she described her very first meeting with them. They assaulted her in the very first meeting.
Yeah, I know.
In the very first meeting when she,
but it was on the guys, we're going to teach you how to do a massage,
right? To Jeffrey. Ghislaine and he assaulted her the very first day they introduced her to the idea of being a private masseuse. Literally.
Yep. Wow.
And that was the weird thing, is like, so she really thought she could be good at it. You know what I mean? I think it was like the one thing that kind of kept her going. And so how she bargains, she said, I'll think about your offer to marry me off to have this baby of yours, but you need to pay for actual massage therapy or massage school. And so they sent her to, I think, Thailand, and that's where she met her husband, and they basically ran away.
Yeah, she escaped.
Who was she supposed to have this baby with? The beforehand?
It was supposed to be Jeffrey was trying to marry her off to like some billionaire guy. I don't know. They didn't say the name.
Okay.
But yeah. And so they bankrolled the whole Thailand thing. And so she finally had distance for the first time.
Well, the fantastical thing about what you just repeated, which was written in the book, and many other things that have come out way before any of this erupted in the way that it has because of Donald being the president, it's very difficult for a person that lives a fairly normal life, and I say fairly because what is normal anymore, right? There's dysfunction to some degree probably in everyone's life, but it's manageable, right? You have tools to manage those areas of your life that go, say, off the rails a little bit. Even as a child, either it's good parenting or it's support in the school system or it's actual therapy. There's a number of things, but when you're missing all of that kind of support and you're flying completely blind, there is no capacity, and you referred to it earlier, the frontal lobe of a child's brain development where reason and thought is developed doesn't work until they're in full development, which is adulthood. These numbers that we say, this is a child, this is an adult, this is puberty, this is advanced adulthood, this is young adulthood. These aren't just random terms that psychologists and scientists have come up with. They've been mapping the brain for so long, and they understand development for so long that they know the capacity of every human being from birth, and not all the capacity, but a good deal of developmental capacity from birth until you reach some level of the mid-20s of your life of where learning and development is still going on. And then at some point, your personality is pretty much solidified by the age of 5. So that part doesn't change. But what happens is it matures and develops. And this is what doesn't happen to people that are victimized at a young age. As Heather said, it's literally stunts their growth. The development goes off track and does not continue in the path that it would normally continue in, even with those bumps in the road that you'll experience, like things like, bullying, things like feeling abandoned by your parents, things like maybe not being properly taught in school to the level of your individual challenges, being left behind emotionally, things like that happen to everyone in their life, but not to the degree that a person that has been victimized will experience, because it doesn't allow the developmental path. It's not a straight line, but the curves are outrageous. And people start accepting things that when you and I hear about them, we say, it's so fantastical to think that anyone could think that that was okay and they would agree to do that. But you're not in the circumstance where they're looking at it with different eyes than you are. They're looking at it with hunger. They're looking at it with needing acceptance and needing some validation so that they can actually move past that emotion and think they're on the other side of being okay. And it never gets to the other side, right? It stops them in their tracks. Again, referring to people in the chat that are talking about developmental patterns and talking about DV in the home, why an adult, mostly women, but it does happen to men, that an adult woman would voluntarily engage themselves in a relationship and then maybe a marriage and also having children with someone that's been abusing them from the beginning. This is the reason why, where you and I would recognize abuse maybe on the third time and be like, wait a minute, that red flag first time, second time, okay, I gave you a second chance, third time, I'm out of here. And that goes with friendships too. I'm not just talking about male-female relationships. I'm talking about there's a lot of domestic violence within friendships as well. People that are friends with people that are toxic to their lives. And physical violence does take place. So when you read this book, if people will take the time to read it or get the audio versions or listen to some of the people on this app who are reading segments out of the book, not out of context, they're just reading them like chapter by chapter. If you're not a student of psychology, if you don't have a background in understanding the way personality is developed, I really implore people to not comment on things that you do not find believable because it's not your experience. That's what all of this I was getting to. You cannot use yourself, because that's an anomaly, to say, oh, well, it didn't happen to me that way when somebody approached me, when a guy tried to do something to me and I just walked away, or the neighbor did this and I told my family and my family called the police. Yeah, everyone doesn't have that support system. A lot of people won't speak up. Even in the most secure homes, there's a lot of children that have been abused that never tell their parents, even though their parents have never given them a reason not to trust them.
I am
There's
one
a lot
of
of
those
shame, right, Heather?
Yeah.
lot of
I'd have to say, like, listening to this book, that because I was very young when I was abused. Like, I was anywhere from 4 to 6, and the thing that's crazy is the thing happens. I can remember, like, all the experience, the pain or whatever, right? But I didn't have any story or narrative to put to it. So it wasn't until I was like around 16 that I saw it replay for the first time, but in like a brain that had context. And I've had memories of it my entire life, but I didn't understand it. It was like it would replay from a little kid's brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You didn't understand, you didn't have the words. So I will say that, like, yeah, I'm an adult now. I have, I did have the love, I did have the support. Never told my parents about it. They don't need to know. But when they pass, I'm saying who did it. You know what I mean? But anyway, but
yeah, I'm so sorry, Heather.
Even just yeah, thank you. But despite that, like, and we especially women, we've all had friends, or unfortunately, who have gone through this stuff too. A lot of our friends are in therapy for it or whatever. But like reading or listening, I guess, to this book, and there's like, I actually got to heal through some of this stuff, because she says things in her book, Virginia, that I'm like, holy crap, I didn't even realize that was still how I thought about some stuff, right? Because there is shame, or I think there's context that automatically also gets left out when you're a victim, is because you don't usually get to like understand or know or ask the person who victimized you why they did it. So you only have the story that you're filling in, or gaps, right?
Right.
So,
well, you're not getting closure.
Yeah, and or just and I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just, this book was helpful. Like, I feel like I've gone through some therapy just through that experience, because she says things that I didn't even know were the narratives that I already had. You know what I mean? Because they've been a part of me since I was like 5. Right.
And so you can't separate that from who you are. You can't separate who you are from the experience that you had, because you're not your experiences. You are a separate person from that. But you can't do that because you were never given the tools to understand those are two different things. And that's where a lot of shame and self-blame comes in place with people that have been victimized, is they don't separate the act of another person from who they are as the victim. You didn't ask for it. You didn't contribute to it. You didn't do anything to cause it, but you don't have the context as a child, especially, to separate their behavior and know that it's not you, it's them. It's literally a cliche, right? It's not me, it's you, right? That's the literal definition that is missing. And when you read something that you recognize in her book, or anyone's literature, whether it be theory or it be a personal experience, it almost opens a gate for your memories to flood through, and then for you to now reconcile those and say, look, here's somebody that had the same experience I did, and it's not just in my mind, it's not just my bad experience, it's not just me, it has happened to other people. It allows you to start to let go of some of that self, I'm going to use this word loosely, when people say self-hate, right? Or blame or shame, or whatever degree of that pain that you are still feeling, or not being able to reconcile it at all until something comes across like this, and you say, wait a minute, I understand what this person is writing about and what they're speaking about. It may not be in the exact same situation, but it has the same elements.
Yeah. But anyways, I just wanted to come up and say that about the pictures, because these people all knew, just like 75 said. These people have known. They've known this forever and ever, even if it was just rumors. The fact, and once he was caught the first time, they knew it was no longer rumors, and yet they still went to his parties. Katie Couric went to his dinner parties after he was released. All these people, and it's just, it's just disgusting. And maybe our, humans in general are just stuck in this disgusting, I don't know. It's just gross. It's so horrible that this is still okay in culture, and we see it repeated over and over. And now there's a bunch of Republican states and senators and stuff, and they're trying to put a bill up to change age of consent. And so basically, once you mess with that, then they can start marrying off kids. You know what I mean? And it's like we just can't get away. It's like the crime of men, like of humanity. It's just awful.
It's gross.
And and they all know it, and it's all supported in culture because it's supported because it's not being fought against. Not really. When they know all this stuff, and people at the DOJ, they went after these victims at like Virginia and discredited her the first time through. She tried going after him several times. There wasn't like a one-trick pony, you know what I mean? But the DOJ tricked her and other victims. So it's bad. Anyway.
Yeah, it's so gross that Trump ran on this. This is the whole 2024 was all about ending this stuff, and then I feel like in an awful way because he's in there. I feel like there's gonna be less closure, no accountability, and now you have kind of, I don't know. It's just wild that the election was about this, but so much about this, and it was in a way that he was correct that there was some ring that was happening, but it's just that he was in the center of it, and now he's going to cover up the whole thing now because he's president. So it's just wild. And it's all it's just sick.
Well, here's a comment, I've got to address this comment by Firefly, whoever this person thinks they're defending. Just because they're not on the list doesn't mean they're guilty. That's exactly the opposite of what that means. If you're on the list and you've been in these properties and you've been at more than one event, I can give you a pass if you were there once and you didn't know what you were going to see when you got there, and then you got there and you witnessed all of the activity and all of the evidence that was clearly brazenly posted everywhere and not hidden, not in a secret room, not where they took people to say, "Ooh, let me show you something." Mm-hmm. And you went back, you're fucking guilty. I'm sorry.
Yeah, these young girls, they were in the background. They were in the background of these photos taken there. They were there.
And they didn't even try to hide them. They took a picture together and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's a girl laying on the couch behind me who's in bondage. But I'm going to take the picture standing right here with no regard whatsoever for understanding what's in the background," because they didn't care. They didn't care to hide it. They didn't care to cover it up. They didn't care that it was wrong, because in their minds, obviously, they didn't think it was wrong. They didn't care, period, in any realm that you could think of. And for any person in this chat or anywhere else that has heard about these things, and not just this particular example being Jeffrey Epstein's example, anything you've ever read about where they have broken these kinds of rings, and you can make a comment like that, there is something mentally not right about you. Because when you go to these environments and the evidence is there for the taking, and you choose to not absorb it and acknowledge it, and then in your moral compass, you go home and go, "Oh, that was okay. I'll go back if I'm invited again," you're guilty. You don't have to get involved in the actual acts, but you are allowing it to continue by your silence. Yes. And that's what Vanity Fair tried to bring out, and they squelched that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also, again, these girls all looked like they were 15, 16. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They all were there because they look like children, period. That was the whole point. So it wasn't just like, oh, well, they were probably like, oh, it's just a woman, right? It's just some hot model or whatever. No, they were there because they look like children, underdeveloped, if you know what I mean, children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And you can go listen to the interview, and everyone listened to Howard Stern back in the day, and he interviewed Donald Trump more than once. And in that interview that has been replayed over and over, and I don't care how many people out there want to say, oh, it's AI, it's been, no, it's not. That interview has been out there for decades. Mm-hmm. And Donald Trump had no issues whatsoever, just laughingly making those comments about Epstein, about his activity with women, about all of that, so nonchalantly and cavalierly. And listen, I don't give any kudos to Howard Stern now for standing up and saying, you know, that he thinks this is a vile situation. Yeah, Howard, where were you 30 fucking years ago when you knew what was going on in society and in New York City? Huh, Howard? You don't get a pass. You don't get a pass either.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't engage in it, you knew about it. And he had a powerful platform back in those days.
Until we actually like hold people responsible for being in the room, I don't care if you touched them. I care if you even looked at them or you were there supporting the person who supplied them. You are guilty. You're guilty, yep. Complicit. You're covering up a crime.
Exactly.
There's no other explanation.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's hard to fathom. Like for me, like for example, the blackmail that they had on Trump in regards to just like the Russian stuff and all the stuff that they, you know, obviously this was like in the dossier and all that kind of stuff that was happening in 2015. This is like all part of that, and they obviously knew. They were talking like Epstein was asking if they have this stuff on Trump in the emails. They were talking about that. So like it's wild to me that like the political world has like known about this stuff. The leaders of countries know about this stuff because they know about blackmail on one another. So it's just it is really wild how big it is and how deep it goes. I don't even know how you would go through and hold people. I mean, what's actually infuriating is just how little people actually have been, how few people have been charged with anything. I mean, other than Epstein and Ghislaine, has there been anyone that's been held like accountable or like?
Well, the part that hasn't been connected yet, and wait, this will come out. I guarantee it, and I don't have any proof of it, but just think about the process here. Hollywood and the elite and society and Page Six, that's two coasts. You understand that we've got the whole thing in Hollywood that's going on, and that because you see what 50 Cent is doing. He's on a rampage. He's going to be exposing a lot out on that coast. Those people also do business and live and have homes in New York City on the East Coast, many of them in Manhattan directly, and also in the outer areas like parts of Connecticut and other wealthy communities in New Jersey as well. Weinstein, go back to the Weinstein case. People, same thing. Except they called that the casting couch, right? Because they were like, oh, well, we finally got the guy who was doing it in the Hollywood realm. Well, you don't think that those people cross over to this coast over here? You don't think those people know each other the same way? You don't think that there is a connection that is just not being made right now because he's not part of the fray? We're talking about what's happened in this realm on this side of the world. I keep saying this because I'm on the East Coast, okay? And that is
sorry. I'm just gonna say I gotta head out. But thanks everyone. If you're watching on my stream, go watch on Corey Campbell's stream on Twitch. It's Corey Campbell, right? Correct.
84. Yes, Corey Campbell.
It's Corey Campbell 84. Or head over to Dr. Greg show, Dr. Greg show, right?
Yep. Thanks, Prime. Appreciate you, man.
On TikTok. Yeah. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
There will be other